Hey there! You might have seen me working on these two for a while now, a couple of weeks now, and they're all finished. So of course I wanted to share with you the results and also a bit of thoughts on what I did and why. Um, I think it mainly started out with this guy, the Hermit Crab robot unit. How I got to this idea is actually the shell. I got the shell from, I found an old shell collection from way back when with lots of nice, beautiful, clean shells, all kinds of sizes and shapes. And I thought it might be cool to make a miniature out of that. And I think there's a lot of people around on the internet making miniatures and tanks out of shells. And I wanted to try it myself as well. And I really like these weird color patterns. So I thought, let's give it a try and see what I can come up with. And the first thing I did is I started sketching out. So I had a lot of claws and mechanical arms from my collection. And I tried to make the idea of like the hermit crab. So I quite quickly came up with the idea of having a skull under there instead of a robot head. And a lot of claws, so they're not symmetrical or anything. So it's just a collection of mechanical bits that I had in my box. And the other thing I wanted to have was like these, what you call them, sea pox. I don't know if that's the correct word that you often see on these seashells, right? But I wanted to have them to be mechanical as well. So I glued some nubbins on there, and of course lots of cables. And quite quickly after that, I liked the direction of the shell going like, yeah, so it's very clear. It doesn't really matter. I like the direction of the shell, right? It's a point to one end. So I wanted to reinforce that a bit with these more pointy exhaust kind of things. Which I think worked out quite well. And then of course it needed a cannon because it's a tank, and a tank needs a cannon, right? Of course. So those were the main things. And the other thing that you often see on the shells are these kind of ridges, which I wanted to add. So I drilled some holes through the shell, which was actually quite hard. These shells are very tough material, so I used a Dremel for it with a drill. I started out trying to do it with the hand drill, but that was just way too much work. When I got to painting, I actually had quite a bit of doubts on painting over the shell, because the shell colors, as I said, they're really pretty, right? They have some really nice colorations, but the thing is, if I would have left it like that, I think like the other kind of paints, like the weathering and stuff, would have looked quite wonky. So I just painted over the entire thing and tried to paint it back in the way that it was before. So I took photos of the shell before I sprayed it and used those as a reference for the colors that I wanted to have it back. So it's kind of close, not completely the same, but it's kind of close to what it was. And I wanted really to have some contrast between the bright shell and the darker metals of the crab and the robot. Yeah, so that was the basic idea of it. And then the next one. So instead of making another crab, I decided to make this more into a snail, like the original inhabitant of that shell. So I had the lower body of the Adeptus Mechanicus Dominus, the one with the praying hands, the floating big guy, and it fitted right in the cavity of the shell, which was very nice. And it needed some tentacles at the front, so that's what I did. These are green stuff tubes with a metal wire inside them so that you can bend them. And I also drilled a hole, a bigger hole through the shell to have this cannon poking out. And he also has this exhaust chimney. It's a Adeptus Titanicus Spires kit. The other thing I want to do is wanted him to have a tiny little friend here. So he has this buddy riding atop, which is a smaller shell that I also had in the collection. And similar to the crab, I wanted him to have some box sticking out. Now the absolute favorite part of this model for me is, can I get it? Is his little foot down there. I know. It just looks so nasty. It's actually a part of the original Dominus model, but it just suits it very well. For the painting, I wanted the rope to look like the body of the snail. So I painted it in a kind of a similar stippled pattern, which I think worked out quite well. Yeah, so I think that's about it. These were some very nice models to work on. As I said, the shells were a bit harder to work with than I anticipated when I started. The main thing is how do you attach like the miniatures to the inside of the shell. And the thing I did is I put a metal wire through the shell. So I bent a metal wire in shape a bit and then just twisted it into the shell and then glued it in place. So I dropped some super glue in there that it would run down. And I also fixed it in place with more green stuff. So I just jabbed some green stuff in there. And then you have a shell with a piece of metal wire sticking out of it. And the other thing is the attachment onto the shell, for which some parts I needed to drill a hole, right? So these rods, as I said, the lightning rods here, and the chimney and the big gun, they're all drilled into the shell. And that shell is really hard, so it took a bit to get through. And what always happens is you start drilling with a Dremel, and you need to push quite hard to get through it, and then suddenly you're through. So it's like you're jamming through it, and then stuff goes flying around. So don't do the drilling while other things are attached already. I did. I broke a couple of pieces here and there, but yeah, in the end, it's just some more glue when you're ready. But I would say drill the holes first and then glue everything together in one go. So I like the general weirdness of these things. I think it's quite cool. I would like to make some more of these and maybe to get into some of these patterns painted on top of them, particularly like this one. So I might make another one out of this at some point. And what I also would love to do is make it in Adeptus Titanicus scale to make them look even bigger. So if this would be like a walker or something, then have some tiny figures walking under it. One of the other things I might want to use is this sea urchin shell, which is very pretty as well. And I could make some War of the Worlds like walker out of it and maybe build something on top of it. I'm not sure yet. So that's it. I hope you like following the building process as much as I like building and painting them. It's a nice project. Takes some time, but I highly recommend it. So do clean the shells before you use them. As I said, I got them from an old collection, but you don't want to use fresh shells without cleaning them out properly because there's some stuff in there, right? So just clean the shells before you start using them. Anyway, that's it. Have fun. If you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.